Greetings, dear ones. Welcome to Starwalker Tarot. I invite you to join me for my morning ritual today and just receive any messages of light and love that universe wants to say to you. I've been on a journey reparenting myself, and it's been a process, but I can see how certain practices can have a wonderfully positive impact on my life. So one of those practices is just having a morning ritual. So I'm a morning person. You can adapt this for the evening. There's no right or wrong. Try things out. And the whole point of my morning ritual is just to have quiet time and connect with myself. Connect with my emotional body, my mental body, my physical body. And it helps me to intentionally take care of all those needs so I am not surviving but thriving. So to start building our energy temple so that we could draw some tarot. Okay, so let's go ahead and give these a nice shuffle. We are brand new, and I'll be working with the Thoth, Hermes, thrice great, Mercury. I am a Gemini, so Hermeticism, the different avatars of this entity really resonates with me. Let's have some fun. So with tarot, it's not dissimilar from journaling, dialoguing. Remember, the symbols in these decks, I believe its purpose is to evoke something deep within our subconscious that already understands these symbols. And that vibration, when it hits your Merkaba, your energy field, your dream field, when it's reflected in your hall of mirrors, you can see that what message is in those symbols and how that energy illuminates certain aspects, dimensions of your life that can help you become more conscious so you can make more empowered decisions. Because if you're unaware of the energies in your life, you're being led through life by them instead of consciously emanating the field, the direction you want to go. So, Infinite Spirit, whoever is watching this video beyond time and space, what is it that we need to know now on a collective level, past, present, and future? Thank you for the clear sign and messages. Past, present, and future energies. Remember, my goodness, the point of tarot is not to predict the future. In my mind, the past and the future, in the quantum soup, all the probabilities exist already, and our future probabilities are determined by the past, but also every single point in the present moment. So it is fascinating that I pulled the Tower reverse today. Right now is a time of great change. So first, let's talk about this Tower upright. Some people see the Tower and they get scared, afraid, which I can definitely understand. Or the Death card can be very scary, but try to be present and see what resonates with you and what doesn't. It does take a certain level of courage and bravery to do an act of divination, because there needs to be a readiness, a very strong desire to see clearly so that you can take action that's aligned with your deepest heart's desires, your values. So collectively, we are going through a time of incredible change. And the Tower reverse can speak to feeling like this transformation, feeling like you're out of control, or there are forces that are outside of you that is catalyzing such changes. And we have to remember that the world is not a machine, because our repertoire of deciphering, perceiving the world is very mechanistic, very Newtonian, Cartesian, going from 3D to a quantum change, a quantum leap in consciousness and evolution. We need to, as humanity, as a species, to survive. And I believe we have already turned the corner, but it's our consciousness that needs to evolve, catch up, so that we could relate to these forces, these tides in nature, in the flow of the universe, patterns in our personal lives, so we can learn to ride those tides instead of feeling like you in a little paddle boat can make the ocean do what is your will. When you're on that ocean, you and that ocean are one, and you have to work with the ocean. So collectively, as humanity, as we're going through systemic change, which, with being in the system has really been pissing me off myself. And there is not a whole lot of patience left in me to tolerate the nonsense that I feel like people who work as a cog in this capitalistic system has to go through. There is a strike going on with actors, and in Hollywood, Fran Dresser would have done. I heard her speak up about how now they see what sort of relationship they have with Hollywood, and how the actors are paid so little, while CEOs, the 1%, those on top, is making a disproportionate amount, to the harm of people who just want to live and do what their passion is. even as an educator, I feel like this system makes it incredibly difficult to do what I love to do, which is to teach. But when the system forces you to be in survivor mode instead of thriving mode, you're going to be operating very differently. Another example going on collectively is the extreme weather conditions that we've been facing. The wildfires in Canada, and then I was listening to the floods happening in Vermont. It was thunderstorming this morning in New York City. And we're going from material things to spiritual things. Literally non-material, from fossil fuel to clean energy. Energy that can be generated through tides, through magnets, things that don't destroy finite resources. They say, you don't shit where you eat. That's true. It's so absolutely backwards that we're destroying our home. And it's funny to me that our solution to that is to do space exploration. There's Hollywood again. They preemptively put ideas in the collective minds. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm all for space exploration. I'm a futurist. And we don't have to be limited to our planetary existence. And I personally believe that there are other beings, physical and non-physical. Part of Starwalker tarot philosophy is that it draws upon many indigenous wisdoms that understand that binary, that relationship we had with our galactic brethren, the Galactic Federation. We're opening that communication now. We're realizing, we're remembering that we are star beings at heart. So there's nothing abnormal about going back to what is already our home. But I think it's the problem. We can explore space, but let's focus on what we have already. So if you are feeling that scared, confused from collective change, your personal change, cycles of change, you might be closing a chapter in your life, closing a cycle in your life, closing patterns in your life that you're not going to repeat and manifest anymore. You might be closing out on a relationship in your life. You might be moving. Whatever it is, it's like it was right for the picking, or it is such a drastic or a sudden change tower. It's more about the interpretation of the change, feeling helpless, feeling out of control. And if you are reacting, and these strong emotions come out because we have attachments to a certain identity or a certain side of our ego. And if we change this, it's like you're literally, part of you dies. Like when a relationship goes away, you have to grieve, because not only does that person disappear, but your relationship disappears. And depending on where you are in self-awareness and recovery, your idea of yourself together as a partnership, or even any sort of fantasy, you have to grieve that loss. So change, all of life is change. And yet, that's the thing that we fear the most. And I think it's funny, it's interesting that divination is a response, a human response to how to deal with change. Like, people don't really consult astrologers, ministers, energy readers, healers, want ayahuasca unless they're going through deep change or wanting to go through deep change. Even I Ching, it's the book of changes. So the better relationship we have with change, perhaps the less intense it can be. Or, I think of change as a birthing process. And there can be birthing pains, but what you get, I don't want to say what you get out of it, but what you create. Number one, well, it's very natural. We are creators ourselves. We are like God. We're image of God. In this cycle of collective and personal change, in the rhythm of change, where is your center? What will help guide you to go through the birthing canal of change, to ride the tides of change? How can we help the sojourner on a collective and personal level? So we have completion. So what can you do? Things that you've already started, things that were already initiated. What can you do to close any doors? Make space for new energy to flow into your life. In the past energy, I see 9 of Cups. So perhaps you've been getting in touch with what brings you joy and longer lasting happiness in your life. When I think about self-parenting during this time of change, you realize that pleasures, at times addictive habits, can be a way of us coping. And instead of going for instant gratification, now you might be in the season of understanding long-term gains, things that will bring you contentment in life. And when you think about going from the limbic brain to your prefrontal cortex, you make long-term gains. And the limbic system can go off when we digest a perspective that goes through our belief system, oftentimes developed as children or in youth. So if you're having any strong reactions to changes, fear, anxiety, relinquishing control, take your mind's eye to have a higher perspective. Know that this time of change will pass, and you want to get the nectar of the lessons from closing at any doors, following through. So, talking about self parenting, you could think of things as discipline, doing things on a daily basis, daily morning rituals that brings you longevity, health, well-being. So this transition is about going from survival, limbic, to thriving, long-term gain, desires, fulfillment, prefrontal cortex. And we want to bring in the energy of our inner oracle, the priestess card. And part of the collective change that we're going through is that we're integrating polarities. So you realize that things are not black and white. It's not the fight like Marvel, good against evil. Although I've been appreciating their destroyer archetypes in a part of a cyclical nature and forces that come up that try to fight for a species. But there's a process of integration that we're going through collectively and individually. And part of it is seeing the veil for what it is. So Isis, moon energy, and you think of the rarefied, subtle light of the moon. And the type of perception the priestess is offering is when you go about daily life, sometimes it can be very boring. Sometimes we have something to look forward to, so it can be exciting. But what is it like when you find yourself in a quieter, calmer, harmonized, balanced mental, spiritual, emotional space, bodily space, where you take care of all those needs and you're able to in quietude just see. And from that place of stillness, perhaps you can see how in this veil, in Maya, in illusion, in this hall of mirrors, relationships, any entities that are actors, characters in our life, in our psyche, you can see them for what they are. Like you might see a person, a friend, a coworker, a boss, but they're actually a figure, a psychic figure in your life, representing someone who might have had power over you, or you have a relationship because you have a need that wasn't met, and subconsciously you relate and project. And once you're able to have that vision of seeing how your conscious, subconscious plays out in your waking world through clear perception, you can start to stop that energetic leakage that happens. Clarify the past and future energy. The Nine of Cups, happiness. Wands. And the Priestess energy, which was reversed. So I like to contemplate the cards upright, because within each card is a polarity. And when they come reversed, sometimes they could point to a shadow aspect of you that is not yet integrated, or it could serve as a double negative. Trust your intuition and just listen to what resonates with you. There might be a line or image that just strikes a chord with you, and it's like a bell that rings of truth. And see how that vibration is emanating in your life, how you want to raise your awareness of it through a discerning lens, through the veil, through illusions, through projections, through your interpretations that based on the past. So, Queen of Wands. So, maybe you came to the point of realizing Queen of Wands is sometimes considered the greatest witch or businesswoman in the deck. Power of manifestation, harnessing her power, and properly channeling her energy sources towards those things. In the Rider-Waite, there's a sunflower, but here there's a pine cone on her staff. Both are life-giving forces. Sunflower being a manifestation, pine cone being the seed, the pineal, the golden ratio. And perhaps you came to a point where your values, the things that bring you happiness, perhaps does not fit into an old world structure that's disintegrating already. And perhaps you are on a path of finding a certain role and identity for yourself, and you might have been disillusioned, so you realize that wasn't the path. Or Queen of Wands reverse can be a blockage in you bringing out a truer manifestation of your values in your life. And part of that blockage could be about harnessing where you get your vital force, your energy, what motivates you. And perhaps the engine is not running, making you move forward because you do not have clarity on your motivating factors. And remember, it's back to, this is the past energy, just thinking of it as like a circle, more cyclically. But if you're not clear on the things that motivate you on a subconscious level, they're going to play out. Part of the tower is the integration of our subconscious so that a fruit can come out of that in a way that is empowering to you, not disempowering. The Priestess reverse and the Queen of Wands reverse. These two dimensions of ourselves, the spiritual, discerning, deeper needs, and the waking energy of fire, our identity in the third dimensional world, our ego. During this time of Tower, there may be an integration going on. And Four of Wands completion, there's a call for integration of your values, your needs, and patterns that have developed from the past that may no longer have that energy of authority. Like the change that's going on may be the source of where you got your nurturance, your sustenance, spiritually, emotionally, physically, might be shifting. And I think in the future, there's an energy of you really stepping toward things getting out of fantasy, getting out of the veil, getting out of your negative thought patterns that actually makes the things that you don't want manifest. So if you're not conscious of that, those thought patterns will imprison you, block you from fully expressing yourself. See the Priestess and the Queen of Wands upright. So integration. What can you integrate during this time of change? So let's see what will ground us. What is the bridge from our place of development, the chrysalis to the butterfly? What would help us clarify past, present, future energies? Okay. So we have I'm detecting a level of fear involved. Relinquishing control in a new endeavor, especially that would bring you financial abundance, stability, new opportunities, a seed for a new home, anything related to the physical realm. The newness, the ace energy is wanting to come through, but there is a fear. Perhaps you might have gotten hurt in the past, so you're starting to realize that that interpretation, how you've integrated that shadow experience, may be still bringing fear. Stepping into and thinking of this as a process. This is a journey, and I think there's a expectation of there are expectations on the journey, and when things don't line up to your expectation, you might feel disgruntled, frustrated, disappointed. Those of you out there who just go straight to the worst case scenario, or just get in permanent stasis where you're like, as soon as I experience this failure, there's just no way I'm going to get out of it. Or if one little thing goes wrong, there's no way of getting out of it. I feel like you're kicking yourself up, something about your identity. When things seemingly don't go as planned in the outside world, you might be blaming yourself, or it's feeding the cycle of fear or punishment or perfectionism or intense criticism. That's not helping you in your journey. And Queen of Cups, keeping in touch with our emotions, that tunes us to our intuition. And if you're having this critical voice, you're not gonna want to step into the fountain of your emotional body that has information that tells you your values, your desires, pointings to that. I'm not talking about appetites necessarily, but our needs and wants. Go into that place not with criticism, but with compassion, curiosity. And if you find yourself with a highly critical mind, when you get into that very vulnerable place of feeling, that voice you're going to have to manage or understand the source of that. That can be the source of your removing these thought patterns. I think the Priestess Reverse is calling us to understand our, on one hand, in this world, it's like the cave analogy with Plato. There are shadows formed from a light shining behind actors and you think the shadows are reality. Because all that you see is shadow. So analogously, projections are not our reality. We're trying to understand the true source of reality, and that can be very confusing, very scary. So how can you root yourself in rhythm in your life, ritual, things, exercises that help you find your center on a daily basis? Because this journey is going to be a daily journey. The things that you do daily, moment to moment, will inform the outcomes of this collective and individual change that we're going through. So let's pull an oracle card, distilling the messages and inspiration I've been receiving from galactic beings of love and light, the Pleiadian Star Mother, Seven Sisters. So, what message does everyone here watching this beyond time and space need to know right now that will guide them? Birthing whatever they are called to create in this lifetime, stepping forward in the fires of fear and survivor mentality, going from surviving to thriving, and using this period of change to really get the nectar of wisdom. What do we need to know? Take a break. A life's work, not a season. Get off the treadmill. So be careful what certain norms in society, roles, like if you feel like you don't fit in, don't judge that. Perhaps that's your authentic self speaking out. And I've been getting a lot of messages of not being so serious, but being more playful in life. And play is something that activates your brain, your ability to be creative, solve problems. People talk about experiencing the journey and not just desiring the end goal. Do not allow this season, this cycle, your whole lifetime pass by without you remembering that this right now is enjoyment itself. I started to stress myself out about getting the equipment set up, getting everything ready to go for this tarot video. And it can be a lot to do for one person. And I have to take a lot of breaks in between because I'm getting too attached to getting the cards perfect or making sure there's no dust on the table. Like, once I see myself grasping very tightly, I have to remember, like, I need to let this go. This is a creative birthing process. Like, there's so many things that had to come into being. Like, I finally have all the equipment, the sound equipment, the lighting that I'm not even using right now. Like, all the tripods that can manage the weight, that can film the, like, everything. And I'm like, that took time for me to gather. And now in the stage, gather resources, now in the stage of figuring out how to film. And this is a creative process. This is not a functional cog in the rat race endeavor, mechanistic system. So get off the treadmill. You're changing mindsets in this time of collective change. So take a break. Let's see what else. And taking a break really speaks to you taking control of your own life. If in this time of change you've had to end certain relationships, toxic relationships, or unhealthy relationships that just no longer is the same vibrational level as you. Not level as in harmony, it's not in the same frequency. So you guys just don't vibe anymore. It's not aligned to your core. And sometimes we forget that under certain conditionings, those relationships were comfortable and even natural to you. And get off the treadmill. You have to give yourself time to integrate, think up a new myth, this new role. Know that you need to let that disintegrate and put in a healthier system. All right, take a break. A life's work, not a season. Get off the treadmill. It's okay to take a break and enjoy your creations, to take a moment from your busy schedule, to get off the treadmill of life, to appreciate and acknowledge all that you have created, achieved, released, or experienced before rushing to the next thing, to be in the moment and enjoy where you are, to take a breath and regather your mind, body, and spirit, to recalibrate, appreciate, and celebrate, to decide on what you really want to experience next. If you take a moment, you are not going to miss out. Perhaps you have just completed a big project, manifested something significant in your life, released an old way of being, or just been burning the candle at both ends. Now is the time to take some time out before rushing onto the next thing. You did it. Enjoy yourself and recalibrate. Go on vacation, book a massage, take long walks in nature, go away for a rejuvenating weekend to recharge and replenish. Take a break and breathe. Well, Star Walkers, that is the message for you today. I hope you've got something that serves you on your journey, gives you some perspective, gives you strength to be empowered in your life, to take a step forward, aligned to your values. And don't forget to celebrate any cycles that you've closed out, that you are closing out, and giving yourself space to down regulate, get our parasympathetic nervous system, giving our nerves time to rest. It does us so much good. And we were talking about being a cog in the corporate wheel, or being a cog in a system that is falling apart. How can you detach? We're still in it, but detach in a way that really you take care of yourself. New myth, this new role, and know that I forgot I'm not wearing the mic. You know, with the please work. All right. The light is red. I don't know. Should it be green? I don't know. Anyway, self-compassion, relinquishing control. Take a breath. This nonsense with the